Good evening, Osceola County, Broward County, and any other counties that may be joining us tonight. This is our first official CCLR corner of 2022. So we want to welcome everybody that's here this evening. If this is your first time, let's just do a little rundown of how things typically work. Normally, one of us will be on here, myself or a representative from Broward County, just to welcome everybody and to go over some housekeeping items, which we're going to do in just a bit. After those housekeeping items, we typically have a short intro into the night's topic, and then one of our members will be presenting on the topic for the evening. And after that, we'll have some closing items that we will cover so you can help us and that we can help you. So with that being said, I am Mr. Cook, aka your friendly neighborhood CCC, and I will be your host for this evening. And tonight we're going to be focusing on soft skills. I'm not going to get too much into that because our presenter is going to walk y'all through all of that, but we definitely want to talk about this as one of the most important topics that it kind of goes under the radar because we're so focused on developing our skills to do our job, we forget all of these other skills that we need in order to be successful at our job. And it's actually the #1 complaint from employers for our students who are entering the workforce, some of the things that they're struggling with. So we definitely want to cover this tonight. All right. With that being said, our first housekeeping item, I want to be very clear about this. Every CCLR corner that we do is recorded. So if you have to jump off tonight, or if you jump in a little bit early, or if you want to see some of the topics that we've done since the beginning of the year, then this will be the place where you can do that. If you'll scan the QR code on the screen, it'll take you to the School District of Osceola County's website. We'll drop the URL for Broward's website. It looks exactly the same. I literally jacked everything from Broward, so it'll look very similar. You can simply select the topic that you're most interested in. You can see it's underlined, so that's a hyperlink that will take you to the recording. Or you can come down here for the month, and you can open up that month, and it will show you the date that we did it, as well as the topic for that evening, and you can select that as well, and you can watch the recorded session of that. So if there was something that was important that was shared, again, if you're jumping on late or you have to jump off early, or if there were topics that we did that you may have missed out on, then this is how you can go review those things. As always, we have Q&A that runs through the entire presentation. So I have a member that's on with me who will be fielding those questions for you all, and then at the very end of tonight's presentation, we will have somewhere between 10 to 15 minutes. If you have any other lingering questions, we'll be more than glad to answer those questions for you. So we want to encourage you to use the Q&A box to type in your questions. Just be patient with us as we field through all the questions to be able to answer them and share them with everybody. Side note, when you pose a question, nobody sees it. We see it in private, and if we think it's something that's worthwhile or it's a commonly asked question, then we share that with everybody that's on for the evening. And our last, y'all don't need anything from me, y'all can keep on going. And then our last housekeeping item of the evening is closed captioning. So we do have live closed captioning available for you in Arabic, English, French, Haitian Creole, Portuguese, and Spanish. So if you are hearing impaired and you want to read along with us, then we encourage you to use the closed caption logo at the bottom right of your screen. Or if you are a fluent speaker in one of these other languages and you just want to be able to read along, because I tend to talk fast and talk quick and say words that I make up I pull out of thin air. So this will help you to be able to follow along with tonight's presentation. We encourage you to use that. Now, let's add some context to this, especially because this is our first one of 2022 and there may be some new people on here. Everything that we do CCLR related. Number one, that means college and career life readiness. It's focused on one of these four pathways. Now you see here it says SDOC 4E, but when you go onto Broward's website, they have a 4E. It's the same 4Es, right? But our job is to prep our students for one of these 4Es upon graduation. After graduation, a student is either going to be enrolling, that's a 2-year, 4-year, or technical vocational college, so one of those three. They're going to be enlisting in the military. They're going to be seeking employment, and we're not just talking about, going to work at a retail store or going to work in a fast food restaurant. We're talking about, while you're in our K-12 system, going through some CTE pathways that will allow you to earn some certifications and jump into the workforce making a higher wage than just a simple high school diploma. You can go back and watch some earlier presentations that we did in the first semester. We cover CTE, we cover what your options are after you graduate, why it's important for you to seek post-secondary education and not just try to jump into something with just your high school diploma. But that's what we're talking about when we say employ. And then explore, we don't often talk about here in the States because our European brothers and sisters do this very well. We just don't typically do this well, but we've been working with some organizations over the past year to help make this experience better. So when a student graduates, should they not feel more comfortable with enrolling, enlisting, or employing, they want to go explore more. We call that a gap year. This is not, I'm going to sit at home in my mama's couch eating Takis or hot Cheetos, playing video games. Although there is some pathways for that, which we'll get into this month, in fact. We want you to take an intentional gap year that we identify as exploration. So working with these organizations, they will provide placement here in the state or in our nation or even globally, where students can take a year and explore and readily identify their passion and interests with the intention to come back and jump into one of these other 3 E's: enrollment, enlistment, and employment. We actually have a few students in our district that are doing this. They're studying abroad for a year, learning a language, having an immersive experience, and they're coming back to study here in one of our colleges. So wanted to make sure that we were clear about all 4 options. So everything that we do ties back to that. Okay, that's our context. Now, with that being said, I'm going to pass the presentation duties over to one of the counselors here in Osceola County, Ms. Kelly Bergen. She's going to speak to you about soft skills while she's presenting. We'll be in the background fielding any questions that you may have, but we do encourage you to follow along. And then when she's done, she'll pass it back to me and we'll get into our closing housekeeping items. All right, so with no further ado.
Hi friends, welcome. My name is Mrs. Bergen. I'm a college and career counselor and school counselor with the School District of Osceola County. Welcome to my presentation. Today we're going to talk about soft skills and how to be successful in the world around you. Today you're going to learn the definition of soft skills. I'm going to give some examples and give some questions for you to think about to personally use these skills in the workplace. For today's presentation, our workplace is going to be defined as any environment really, from school to work to home. Before I begin, I do want you to know that you already possess some of these skills. They can be learned through observation of others or modeling from the people who are already in your life. There are also classes and books of these things, and it takes time to develop the ones that you might not be great at, but you've got this, so let's begin. Hard skills in the workplace are the skills that are tangible or you have been trained in with your formal education from high school or a college degree or technical programs. Soft skills in the workplace are the skills that you come in with, that you were born with, or that you've picked up along the way. Those such as manners, nonverbal communication, and character traits. Soft skills help you develop community in the workplace and connect with other humans. There are 2 types of communication, verbal and nonverbal. Let's start with verbal. Oxford Reference by University Press 2021 defines verbal communication as human interaction through the use of words or messages in linguistic form. Colloquial usage refers to speech, oral communication, especially face-to-face, but in academic usage, it also includes mediated forms, written communication, and sometimes sign language. What does that mean? That means things that are said through speech or writing. Nonverbal communication, also defined by Oxford Reference, is a synonym for body language, any system of communication other than speech or writing. Why is that important? Well, the way you speak to others shows the value and commitment to the conversation. Using kind words but crossing your arms or rolling your eyes does not communicate that you're invested in what they have to say, or you're even interested in a conversation with them. It is important that your verbal and your nonverbal language are saying the same thing when having a conversation or sitting in the same room with somebody. There are tons of classes on communication, as the topic is very valuable in the environment, but we do not have time to go over these specific details. So, a few strategies that might help you in a situation is to listen attentively. Look at the person that you're in the conversation with, keeping your arms loose to your side and not crossed. If you don't know where to put your hands or you get nervous, just put them in your pockets of your trousers or in the pockets of your blazer, and you should be fine. Leadership is not always being the boss. It can take the shape of having initiative to start a project, motivating your teammates, or speaking up when you have a solution to the problem. This is often seen when you are guiding a group of people. Teamwork, the idea that a group of people are playing a sport, doing a project, or solving a problem together. Although some people like to work alone, larger projects often require people to work as a team. This can look different for different personalities. Maybe each person works on one part of the project, and in the end, you put it together. Maybe a few people are not comfortable working alone, and they want to team up on their parts. When looking at a team, what does that mean to you? Are you a team player? Do you want to work on just one part and put it together at the end? Do you want to work with someone and do the whole thing together? Only you can answer that. Leading from a team is working as a team. Do you have respect with one another to have differing opinions? Do you have objectivity if someone wants to do something different than you? Are you willing to stop and talk about it? Again, questions. The next one is time management. There are tons of resources and classes on time management. From my perspective as a school counselor, the key is to have a plan. Knowing that the plan might be derailed, at least if you start with a plan, you can accomplish something throughout the day. Thinking about your day, the task, or project is where you want to start. Knowing that sending an email might only take a few minutes, but developing an outline or timeline for a project, that could take up to 2 meetings and 3 hours of your day. So you need to plan effectively and make sure that you allow enough time for each task. Again, as a school counselor, we can come into work and have to meet with 3 classes, a parent conference, and a virtual training for an hour. Realistically, it is doable, but laying out the calendar for the day helps to ensure that we arrive to all of the classes on time, our meetings are done on time, and we have a full hour to do our virtual learning. The free time in between can be left for posting notes of the meeting or scheduling something else for the next day. If a crisis happens, which we know it does, knowing who to contact to assist me with the crisis or having a backup person to go to our meeting is also helpful. The key is knowing how much time to plan and not overdoing it. Sometimes, even with the best plan in place, things go wrong. Time management is also knowing how to handle rescheduling, reflecting, and problem solving on the tasks that you missed or the inability to complete a task because of time constraints. My advice to you in this is that in the morning, you should always have a plan or plan the night before. That way you know what you're getting into the next day. In my personal life, our family has a meeting each night and we go over what type of homework we have, what's going on the next day, and then of course we have a meeting weekly to figure out all the tasks that need to happen. And it gets derailed a lot, but at least we try. The next one is about organization. Organization actually starts when you're a student in school. Either you keep your papers in a binder by class, all color-coded, or you don't. Either you pick up your room and everything has a spot, or it doesn't. However, either you keep your papers in a binder by class, all color-coded, or you don't. Either you pick up your room and everything has a spot, or it doesn't. However, adolescents, your teachers and parents try to train and guide you to make the decisions of organization. It is never too late to try. In the work environment, as well as school and home, you should do what you can to keep your things in place. If you have folders that have the project names on them at work, this will save you time when you need to an outline that you had or an email from like 3 weeks ago that you are working on and you have to go back and reference something. If you keep all of your drawing tools together in your desk drawer, then you can easily grab and go and run to a drafting meeting to help fix something if there's a problem there. If you keep all of your frequently called numbers in your phone, then when you need that number or you have to call a coworker on the fly, you have it there and you can ask your question and get all your answers. All of these examples can translate into all aspects of your life, making it easier to do tasks and quickly be productive. Life happens. There will always be a problem that needs to be solved. It can be as simple as what to have for lunch to something very serious. How you react to all of the problems is a part of the soft skill family. Being able to think about a problem and formulate a solution on the fly is also very valuable. Some people have a knack for that, while others, it does take longer to process. It's okay no matter what your personality is. The key is knowing how to react when the problem comes along, as well as how serious of a nature it is to decide how quickly you have to react. Again, something that comes with experience in situations that you are placed in. As a high school student, you might only be faced with problems of what to do on Friday night, should I go to the homecoming dance, or do I have to ask for help on my math homework? In the workplace, it could be as easy as what's for lunch, or knowing who to turn to for different problems that come up. If I worked in a department store, most of my answers are coworkers or the manager. If I was in a dentist office, it would be the office manager. At a school, we generally go to the administration. I am a very planned person. I end my day looking at the day ahead and planning out what I will do. I then start my day looking at multiple calendars and emails to make sure that I don't miss anything. However, oftentimes things happen and I'm thrown off my scheduled path. The best thing to do is to take my list with me, complete the distraction or assignment, and get back on my task list. Take it everywhere I go. As soon as possible, I get back on track. When I come to school, maybe, when you come to school, maybe your sporting game is postponed because of rain, or you have to manage through classes, notify your parent, you have to figure out how you're getting home from school because of that. Maybe you have a sub that you have an exam that you spent 6 hours studying for the night before, and all of a sudden it's postponed. No matter the issue, can you take the deep breath? Can you reflect? And can you go with the flow? Do you get physically upset and it ruins the rest of your day and all of the encounters that you have until you get home? Reaction to setbacks is a soft skill that will benefit you when you have to think on the fly or be creative in problem solving. Stop, take a deep breath, reflect for a few moments, and then solve the problem. Try putting that into action the next time a setback requires you to be flexible or creative. To be effective and effective in the world of work, it is helpful to bring some characteristics to the table that are not necessarily taught in a classroom or book. Look around you. Watch others. Ask yourself, what do you like about some of the people that you think are successful? Conflict resolution is one of those skills that you also can pick up from others. Watch how good leaders do not escalate when someone gets loud with them. Conflict is bound to happen. The key is how you respond to it when it does. Are you the source of the disagreement? Are you calm? Can you listen to all sides objectively? Can you prevent it? Can you assist with problem solving? Maybe. Are you in a situation where you care or show you care for others in the workplace? This can be seen through your nonverbal communication when speaking to others and how you speak to others when confronted with conflict with others. It's smiling at others, saying hello, goodbye. It's genuinely listening to what they have to say. If you're doing all the talking, then you are not listening. Relationships should be 50-50, each person giving half to the other. Continuing with equity, emotional intelligence includes social skills and knowing what you bring to the table with self-awareness. If you do not like to work with others, then you need to be aware of how much you can handle with others and still be kind and listen to as much as possible. I have a friend who is an independent introvert and naturally struggles with social skills. However, his self-awareness is high, so he knows how much he can do with others, and then when he needs to step away. He also knows who he can surround himself with and is intelligent in many topics, so he can talk about things that interest him, keep quiet and listen when other people talk about things that do not interest him, but he knows enough to give enough in a relationship to be 50-50. Social skills also does not mean that you have to be the smartest person talking the most or in a social interaction all the time. When you look at others who are successful, watch what they're doing, not what they're necessarily saying. Where are they standing in a crowd? Too close? No. How much are they speaking in the conversation? Half or more? Are they listening and acknowledging what others are saying? Are their arms crossed, their heads cocked to one side? And please do not tell me they are rolling their eyes. Watching what others do that are leading you is a good start to figuring out how to be socially acceptable in the group that you're around. It's okay to not be great in social skills. It is also a work in progress. It's also different depending on which group or environment you are in at the time. School is way different than home, which is different than your friends out at a football game on a Friday night. There are times that you'll be faced with something that you cannot do on your own. It might be a skilled trade that you need someone who is trained to do. It might be a project that you need a more experienced person to assist you with. Or it is something so large that you physically cannot do it on your own. Do you know who you need to turn to in order to get assistance? Do you know where to go to find the answer? I know, most of the answers are on Google. However, if there is an event at school that everyone is talking about, who do you ask? Where do you find the information? If you have a test in science tomorrow and you miss the class, who's going to help you with the notes so that you can study tonight? It's important to be resourceful, and that's a soft skill that some people are going to need a little more help with. When we talk about needing a little more help, I think that we also need to talk about feedback. So when you complete a task, it's also helpful for growth to get feedback. It's not always easy to hear that you did a good job, but you need to improve instead of a great job. However, we get better when we're given this feedback. Hopefully the person giving your feedback delivers it with facts and kindness, in a manner that does not create conflict in your relationship. If you're the one that has to give feedback, say it with kindness and think about how you would want to receive that information. No matter what situation you find yourself in, please be prepared and get the job done. Be responsible and respectful for others. Be kind, polite, and caring, and be a good listener. Thank you for listening today. This is just a very brief soft skills lesson. And here are the resources that I used. I definitely think that if you feel like you need to expand on any of these, talking to your school counselor or your college and career counselor would help. I also think that there's enough resources out there in classes. If you really want to dive into that, you can. And then when we talk about when you are moving on to the next step, always make sure you're mindful of watching what other people are doing. Thanks and have a great day.
We want to thank Ms. Virgin for presenting on that. There were a few things that she shared that I thought are really, really important moving forward. Some things, just some little nuggets that I want to share with you. She talked about communication. So my background is in marriage to family couples therapy, and one of the things that we talk about are what are those things that just in relationships and marriages, what makes them successful and what makes them fall apart. Communication has always been top three. Most of our communication, it's said that 80% of it is nonverbal. So tone of voice, facial expressions, body language, all of that says more than the words that are coming out of your mouth. So communication becomes really, really important because you got to know what you want to say. You have to recognize that you're saying it to somebody who's processing what you're saying through their lens and not necessarily your lens. Communication takes work. So you want to make sure, as Ms. Virgin said, that when you are speaking to somebody, that you're being clear, that you're being kind and respectful, that you're saying it to them the way that you would want it to be said to you, being mindful of that. And even if it's not the way that you wanted it to be said to you, how does that person best receive information that you might be sharing with them? So I wanted to point that out because that's really, really important. Time management, flexibility, and organization. Really stop and think about this. There are studies that talk about what your work environment looks like. That's probably what's going on in your mind. So we talk a lot about decluttering, and they'll say, start in a small space. Maybe it's your car, maybe it's your room, maybe it's your book bag. But being able to have things organized helps. It's a proactive soft skill because it helps when the stressors come your way, because the reality of it is you're going to hit up on stress. That's just life brings stress, and how we respond to that really contributes to how we mature and how we grow as young adults and adults. So being able to have a healthy way to manage time, a healthy way to organize and to be flexible, because you may have the best plan and you may be as organized as the best person in the world or have the greatest time management skill. But like I said, life will throw you some curves, some curveballs. They will bring you some stresses, and you have to be able to be flexible to that and adapt to that. So those things, a lot of people begin to develop it as a reaction to stress in life. But I think it's important through this presentation to recognize that it can actually be a proactive approach to life. And then last, self-awareness. How can you communicate with somebody if you don't even know yourself? Being able to recognize who you are, being able to recognize what your triggers are, and where they come from, and putting in the work to heal from those things and to be able to effectively communicate. That's so very important. That's why we have lessons in our schools that focus on social emotional learning, because we want you to be able to learn these skills. We want you to be able to know yourself better, because that ultimately contributes to effective communication. And leadership is one of the other things that she shared with us. So I just wanted to kind of highlight those things. Those items really resonate with me, and I just thought it would be important to share with y'all. So with that being said, we're in our closing housekeeping right now. If you scan the QR code in the bottom left-hand corner for us, this is our survey. This will help us figure out how to make these presentations better. Help me help you. So if you'll just answer those 7 to 10 questions for us while we're closing out this evening, we'll take a look at that feedback, and as we move forward in the construction of these presentations, we'll make sure to take your feedback and just improve on the product. You know, we do this for y'all, and we want to make sure that the product is meeting your needs. Now, in the upper right-hand corner, this is a QR code that will take you to the School District of Osceola County's website. But again, Broward's website is set up the same. Like I told you, I pretty much jacked what they did with their permission because it was so awesome. But on our websites, you can find our CCLR corner topics, which we talked about at the very beginning of the presentation. But you can also find information on enlistment in all of the military branches. You can find information on our exploration organizations that we work with. You can find information on colleges, 4-year, 2-year, technical, vocational, scholarships, financial aid, FAFSA. We have a ton of stuff on the website. Anything that you can think of as college, career, and life readiness related, we have on our website. So I want to encourage you to scan that QR code, bookmark that website. And when you have some questions about some items, get on there and look. We try to be proactive and think of everything that y'all might need. So we've tried to put as much on there as possible and organize it in such a way that you can easily find things. And lastly, before we get into Q&A, if you ain't following me, shame on you. This is where the party's at. I'm primarily I'm on Instagram, so you can see what my tags are. But we do a ton of stuff CCLR related. Our Monday check-ins, where we check in to give you updates on what's coming up for the week. Every first Wednesday of the month. Today was one of those days. It's what do you want to know Wednesdays. I literally will field any questions that you may have. I even do some personal fun ones. We talked today about what was your favorite thing that you did over the holiday, you know, just some time to interact. And I've helped middle school students all the way up to adults. Was helping an adult today with some financial aid for their graduate program. So we're here to help in any way. And then Spotlight Fridays, we highlight student successes that are going on, whether they're in athletics, whether they're in the performing arts, visual arts, whether they're in ROTC, whether they're serving in our community. We like to shed a little light and love and sunshine on a rather crazy time that we find ourselves in. So we really highlight what our students are doing because they're doing some really great things. And the other thing that we do on Spotlight Fridays is scholarships. So those of you that are trying to pursue a post-secondary education, Spotlight Fridays is where it's at. We'll highlight scholarships that are coming up within about a 2 to 4 week span. We have a bunch that I'll be posting this Friday, ranging anywhere from $500 up to a full tuition, a full ride. So if you're not following me on social media, I'm encouraging you to do so. That also allows y'all to DM me. So if something comes up and y'all need help, you have a question, I field them all throughout the day. My phone stays on me. So this is, you know, where you can get your questions asked, you know. So she talked about knowing who has the answers. You can't walk away from tonight's presentation and say you don't know. You have one person, you got me. So you can follow me on social media, and if I don't have the answers, I'll make sure to get you to the person that will have the answers. All right. So now Q&A. If you have any questions, drop them down in the chat box. I'm going to leave this up for the next, I'm going to say 5 minutes. And if you don't have anything within that time, we're going to go ahead and sign off for the night, but we'll be looking here to see if you pose any questions for us to answer for y'all.
Yeah, 2, 4, 6. That's it. You got 2 and then 2 apples, 2 tomatoes. Well, 4 apples, so you got 2 apples, and I got 2 apples.
And the virtual silence don't scare me. But I will say this again, if you are on with us tonight, it would mean so much to us if you would answer the questions in the survey by scanning that QR code so that we can improve on these presentations. We got a few minutes where we'll continue to take questions. Ooh, somebody asked a really, really great question. How do you get comfortable with communicating your feelings without feeling bad? So I have this saying, this may not be applicable to all, but just rock with me for a minute. I have this saying, if you love somebody, you tell them the truth. And people that know me know that I'm about trying to be the best version of me that I can be as a man, as a father, as an employee, in all aspects of my life. So I put in a lot of work to improve on those aspects and those areas. So I challenge other people too. If I see them slacking or if they need to be called on some things, we have those conversations. And I live by this: if you say what you're saying in a kind and respectful manner, you are not responsible for other people's reactions. And I generally have love for everybody that I come in contact with, and I want to see everybody be the best versions of themselves. So as I get to know people and we become comfortable with one another, I'll say things. I'll say things that are hard to hear, and they'll say things back to me that are hard to hear, you know? And that's just part of growing and maturing and having that emotional intelligence, right? So a really cool place to start is who are your 3? 3 to 5 people in your life that you feel most comfortable with. And it's in those circles that you want to practice communicating and learning how to communicate effectively. And listen, the other part of communicating is not just saying stuff, but it's, are you an active listener? Are you listening to what the other person is saying? Are you affirming them? Are you recognizing their truth? And are y'all able to have those exchanges with one another where you can grow and mature as people, as young adults, as adults? So if you don't have those 3 to 5, find them. I have my inner circle, and we have said some really hard things to each other, but I can say I'm better for it. And I can say, because it's a safe space and because we practice that, like we intentionally practice that, our relationship is deeper and better for it as well. So I would say find at least 3, if not find 3 to 5. But if you don't have that 3 to 5, let's start with 1. And with that one person that you feel safe with, let's just practice that. But you feeling bad has more to deal with you trying to take on somebody else's response. You're not responsible for that. You are not responsible for that. You are responsible for how you deliver the truth. So right now there's no other questions. We have 1 more minute before we're going to close out. Thank you so much for asking that. I know that might have been tough for you to do so. I can tell you when I was younger, growing up, I didn't say a lot of stuff to people because I was scared of their reactions and I would feel bad. I would carry on their anger, their sadness, but that's not my responsibility. We're all responsible for our feelings. Nobody makes us feel any type of way. They may say something to us and our wounds and our triggers may be set off and we respond to it and we feel a certain way about it, but it's our job to navigate those feelings and those emotions. And I'm grateful for people that have brought things to me, because I've, it's either been truth and I've taken it and integrated it and it's made me better, or it's been a bunch of garbage and I've learned how to dismiss that. It's helped me to develop a filtering system to take what is beneficial and truthful and meaningful, and to get rid of those things that, you know, are not beneficial for me and are not truthful. So the question was asked, which is an extension to what we're talking about, right? So what if someone always takes things in a bad way, no matter how you say something? My response to that, feel however you want to feel about this. Why are you even in a relationship with them? I mean, our presenter said that relationships are 50-50, right? Not that I necessarily agree with that, because sometimes it's 80-20, sometimes it's 20-80. It depends. It's an ebb and flow in relationships. But if you have a relationship with somebody and you can't speak truth to them and they can't receive that, I honestly, I don't waste my energy in those spaces. I divert that energy into spaces where it's beneficial, where those people are going to grow and where they're going to have those exchanges with me and I'm going to grow. I mean, that's really what it's about, you know? Again, we can't own other people's feelings and we can't own other people's emotions. So if they're constantly putting up a wall, then it's time to direct that energy elsewhere. And I know that's hard, right? Because we're talking about, what if it's a loved one? What if it's family? Communication just looks different with them. And that's okay. Maybe it's not the time, maybe it's not the season. And that's okay. And learning to be okay with those things will bring a lot more peace to your life. Yep, I would. Well, like, it's tough, right? If it's family and you live in the same space, it's hard to leave them alone, but you can communicate about regular things. It doesn't have to be the deep emotional stuff. You just know that that's not somebody that you can correct, or somebody that you can share some deep emotional stuff with, and that's okay. I don't want to share all of my deep emotional stuff with any and everybody. Like I said, I have a small circle that I go deep with, and everybody else, you know, I keep it real with, I'm honest and truthful about, but they don't get to see the innermost parts of me. And there's some people in my life, to be honest, that are family members I can't say nothing to. It don't matter how I say it. I can say it in the softest, sweetest voice. I can say it as kind as I could possibly say it. I could pray over it for months and hope that their heart is receptive to what I got to say, and it's not gone well. And over time, when that continues to be the result, then I just let that go. That's just not somebody that I can have those meaningful, deep, honest, truthful conversations about. And the truth is, if they really care, at some point they'll feel it and they'll ask, why is it that you don't talk to me about XYZ? Now the door is open where you can say, well, this has been my experience. I would love to have those kind of conversations with you. However, that hasn't been my experience. This is not a safe space for me to do that. If you're willing to create that safe space, I'm willing to work with that. You see what I'm saying? I hope that resonated with you. I hope that made sense. There's so that I could literally talk about this. I try. I'm not the greatest communicator, but I do care a lot about it. So I definitely can. I would love to chop this up with everybody. So, all right, we're past our time. I want to give you the last call. You got any other questions? Those are really good ones because it's tough. Those are tough ones. Really appreciate you asking those. Okay, I'm going to stop presenting. Remember, this QR code up here, this will take you to the recorded sessions from tonight. It will take you to recorded sessions from previous ones. So thank y'all for joining this evening. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening. And check in with us next Wednesday, same time. We'll be focusing on, what will we be focusing on? Just not forgot. Something is resume writing. Check it out. Yep, resume writing next week. And you can see that we have SAT and ACT prep coming up the rest at the end of this month, as well as our anime conference. If you're into anime and you want to know how to get into the field, make that a career, we got that for you too. So we're going to sign off for tonight. Thank y'all so much for joining us. Have a great evening. We'll see y'all next week. And then you can start. Continue.